Welcome to the Family Office, planning for the people who matter most.
Well, we shall see. One thing I do think that's happening here too, as much as I don't want to agree with the fact that this is taking longer, and no matter what he he needs to get out of it, and good or bad now at this point, it's a stain now, unfortunately. Whether the best thing in the world happens in the Iran situation, it's still a bruise. We're not coming out of this thing without a bruise. And I don't mean like bruise, like meaning we're bruised and we're hurt, meaning reputation or whatever, the perception of it, because it just took too long. But the biggest thing that I think is telling here is the fact that now you have all of these nations coalescing together in the Middle East that are now saying, hey, look, bro, you're for the first time, you have Middle Eastern nations saying, dude, Iran, you're violating international law by attacking ships. And while I don't like that scenario because it puts U.S. in a position where we have to be the policeman still, which I don't think which I think is horrible because we're always stuck there. But at the same time, it's good because now someone else is saying something and everyone's realizing this. But I think the best news that comes out of this is that Goldman Sachs has estimated that by 2028, 70% of the infrastructure needed to completely bypass the Strait of Hormuz, 60 to 70% of it will be done by then, or could be done by then. Mm-hmm. Len, the last and only chip that the Iran has is fast slipping away from them. So do you think that they're going to want to make a deal because they're next? I don't want to make a deal until Trump gets out of office. I don't think they have much of a choice here at this point anymore. I think it's just dead in the water now for them.
So I believe that Iran exposed a weakness in the Middle East, which ultimately will be better for the world because they're figuring out other alternatives. Because when you have one regime that can pretty much hold captive 1/5 of the Earth's resources, that's a problem. And so as Saudi and the other nations start to find other ways around the Strait, I think that's a good thing. But I think the bigger picture is that the United States made the biggest mistake that they possibly could have by starting the war, because this whole situation would not have even been around had they not started the war. And Saudi Arabia and Turkey actually had this Mecca joint defense agreement that was signed on August the 7th. And essentially what that meant is, like, if you look at the history of Saudi and Turkey, they've never really been friends. No. But for them to come together, it's really an indictment on their trust or their lack thereof of the United States. You see, the United States, up until very recently, was considered the global dominant power, bar none. And just the word of the president meant something. But then when this whole war happened, you see all of these proclamations come by the president, you can't take them seriously. And because doing a real estate deal versus running a country, those are two very different tactics. And I think the crux of Turkey and Saudi Arabia getting together and saying, look, we got to make sure that we don't just rely on the United States to police the Middle East anymore. We can't rely on them. And so I think that puts us in a weaker position. I think ultimately it'll turn out better for the globe because it weakens Iran because they're strengthening their relationships with each other. But as it relates, if we're just to look at this personally, I think it puts the United States in a weaker strategic position. And because of the nature of the word and the strength and the dominance and the might of the United States has taken a couple of hits. And I think anybody objective would have to say, okay, we may get it back, but right now we definitely have a black eye for sure.
I don't know how you could take that position over the right now when we had the previous 4 years with Biden. I don't know how you can have that position and say that we didn't lose respect on the world stage. Like, I think when we hear the phrase, Len, like, oh, we lost world respect with Trump, I think that's exactly the opposite. because I think we lost respect when Biden was in office. That's a joke. So I don't know how you
let
can
me. I'll explain. I'll explain it to you quickly. So, did Biden make a terrible blunder as it relates to how the United States exited Afghanistan? 100%.
I'm not even talking about that.
I'm just telling you that if you look at the history of the United States, you have a valid argument that Biden did not do the United States any favors. What I'm saying, though, is that since the Bretton Wood Agreement was signed in 1945, from 1945 up until the Biden administration, with the exception of the Carter administration, the United States, in terms of its position of world dominance, was unquestioned. I think Biden made a nick in that, and that people started to see that the president, that the particular person in power right now was weak, but not the country, not the nation. And I think when you look at what Biden has done and what President Trump is doing right now and what China is doing and what the BRICS nations are doing, you've got to take the context of all of it. And when you put it all together and then you put that and you factor that into the equation, that's where I believe that America stepped back. So I'm not disagreeing with you that Biden did the United States no favors, but you cannot suggest that Trump has put the America back into a position of strength after Biden notched it down. I don't think you can say that.
We have more trade agreements. The trade deficit has been destroyed. Like, for the longest time since I've been hearing about stuff, I've always heard about the trade deficit being a problem. That's not a problem right now. The trade deficit is destroyed. In fact, the trade deficit is so destroyed, Len, that liberal news organizations like CNBC and CNN, they don't even know how to react to it. So we're getting more money back in trade. Our trade deficit's been renewed. We have more trade deals with more countries and more cooperation with trade than more countries than ever have been. I think if it wasn't for Trump, you would be seeing America trying to fight for its position as a third, and rather than being the number one of the third. And what I mean by that is that if you step back and you look at this, what the United States has been doing under Trump is positioned itself to make sure it says, hey, look, guys, when the game is done here in the next couple of years, because it's about to be, it's going to be United States, China, and Russia. And that's all there is to it. That's and what's happening right now. What's happening right now is that Trump put us in a position where not only are we in that arena with those three and of those other two countries, we're leading them. Instead of going, oh, we have our space, he completely shut China out of the South American hemisphere with Venezuela, with locking up Venezuela, soon to lock up Cuba. He completely took away the quagmire that was happening, or not the quagmire, but the back door that was happening between Europe, Russia, and China into Iran. He took that shit off the table. And now all he has to wait for is say, all right, cool, guys, boom. America's going to re-innovate. America's going to remanufacture, and America's going to lead in the new emerging technologies, and everybody's going to want a piece of it. And oh, by the way, all these Middle Eastern countries, you guys, I love the fact that they're making alliances. They ought to be doing that, because now that means, guess what? They can go be police for themselves in their area. And by the time they figure out what's going on, we're not going to need oil anymore, because oil is going to be dead. So China, Russia, and the United States have figured out that it's cheaper, more humanitarian, and more peaceful for us to just carve up the rest of the world and say, all right, cool, you got that, we got boop, boop, boop. All right, all three of us, we're good. And Europe, I don't know, if anything, Europe should be the thing that is lost a lot of respect, and not so much on the world stage for its countries, but the European Union should be apologizing to every citizen in it for allowing them to just fall into whatever they are right now. So petty that they blame the United States why they can't have air conditioning. Give me a freaking break, dude. By 2030, there's going to be almost a $20 trillion gap in total GDP. It's like $10 trillion right now, or some crazy number like that. That's the way I think I see it. I think for the first time in a long time, the rest of the world is going, oh crap, we can't mess with America anymore. That's what I think. I don't see it that way. Well, now, I think most people misinterpreted it as, oh, it's rude, but get over it, dude. Anything America does is rude to everybody because it challenges the status quo.
Agree to disagree. So So let's move to the next topic.
Hey, okay. Speaking of the shock out of Wisconsin, did you watch that clip of when they were live? Did you watch it when they went? And the people in the back are talking about this too, so we could talk about it. You know what I'm talking about?
With the miscounts of the votes and everything.
Len, come on, dude. How? And you know what's funny about it? This is the most hilarious thing that I think the most hilarious thing is it's the normal Democrats that screwed over the crazy left liberal communists, like the AOC people and the Bernie Sanders people and the Mandami people. They firsthand saw how the Democrat, the party incumbent Democrat powers that be, rob elections from people. How do you not say it's rigged when that kind of crap happens? I mean, there's no plausible answer. Not 1, not 2, not 3, not 4, 5 discs are empty. But don't worry, we've got the audit data in them. Give me a break, dude. How does this happen in 2026, Len? Please tell me there's a sane answer for this besides it was rigged.
No, okay. So here's my overall thesis as it relates to election
I like that word.
And rigging.
Let's take this down a soft landing.
Okay. I think that what happens is, let's say, for example, you and I are roommates. Okay. We're in college together, and you heard through your friends that I robbed a store. Like, I robbed a liquor store down the street. They saw, a young, good looking black guy that robbed the store, meets my description. Now, now you and I are roommates, right? So all of a sudden, we were hanging out the night before, and today you're in your room and it's 3:00 and you can't find your wallet. Now, if you heard that I was the person who robbed the liquor store and they meet my description and all of that stuff, and now your wallet's missing the next day, what's your first thought? The first thought is going to be that I took the wallet, and you'd be right to make that assumption. Of course. That doesn't necessarily mean that I stole your wallet. So what's my point in using this analogy? Is that when anybody gets labeled for anything, any evidence makes us ultimately jump to that conclusion. Now, having said all of that, laying the groundwork, I believe that the situation needs to be investigated thoroughly, but it looks very, very fishy. It looks very, very fishy. And so, it's one thing where you can explain things away, but here's the ultimate problem that I have, which is very serious. People in positions of legislature and that have political clout and power need to understand how important having clean and fair elections are right now. Because in my lifetime, I'm 54 years old, I've never understood any other period where there was a higher degree of distrust in the electoral process. And so whether it's on the Democratic side, on the Republican side, I don't care if it's local, regional, national, there needs to be extra steps taken right now, because we're at a precipice where this whole thing could say, you know what? It might allow a whole group of young people to say, you know what? Man, I've been hearing about this election rigging. Why did I even go vote? My vote doesn't matter anyway. Forget it. Screw it. And then it messes up the whole democratic process. And now even the illusion that there's bottom up power, that goes away when even right now, the number of people who are voting are significantly lower than they should be. And I just think that this adds one more layer of distrust to the whole stack that's been going on over the last, I would say, since the hanging Chad back in 2000.
The hanging Chad. Yes. Remember that crap? That was wild, dude. The hanging Chad.
Yeah.
It's so puzzling to me because why does it have to be such but I mean, obviously, why, but this is like, it's such a foundational principle where you shouldn't have to guess it. But I think what's unnerving about it the most is that there's always this nasty position of nothing to see here. We didn't do anything wrong. What do you mean? Like, even in the face of the fact that you have 5 drives blank, no one can come out and say, hey, you know what, guys, we fucked up. Sorry. You know,
that's the thing. Just come out.
Why does it have to be that way? Yes. Where it's like, it's always that position. And that's what kills me the most about the left. And about politicians in general.
Man. Both sides do that crap.
All of them. But mostly the left. There's nothing to see here. Nothing going on here. You know, everything's great.
Both sides do it, Chris. But go ahead.
I'm not saying that both sides don't do it, but one side definitely does it more. And that's the ultralistic side of, and you know what that side is. That side was you put a mask on and you get a shot in your arm or you're fired. That group. That freaking group right there is the scary group. But the warning to that group, the warning to, like, that lady that they saw, like that video. I don't know if you saw that video where that guy dresses up in full, like, what is it called? Hijab or whatever, when they got the whole thing on and all you can see is their eyes.
Oh, yeah. Mm-hmm.
And he goes in to trick the poll worker to get to register to vote. And he brings someone else in with him and says, oh, I'm going to vouch for her. She can vote. And she says, oh, yeah, whatever. Mm-hmm. And they go and they vote and they expose it. Just a warning to those people out there. Just know that if you ever let us get compromised and the enemy does, for some god-awful reason, does take over, just know that you patsies will be the first ones that they kill. So just understand that. Just a warning to everybody when you do that stuff. Like, because that's really what happens. You can't have that type of mutiny inside your country. So people just really need to really understand that, like, you got to protect your family, and you got to protect your homeland and your neighborhood against any enemy, foreign and domestic. And that's nothing that's radical. That's written in our Constitution, because you shouldn't be bending the rules for a virtue.
I agree.
It's just not right, Len, to bend rules for virtues. So
I agree with that part.
It just is a little unnerving that no one can take accountability from that. It's just that's the part that's hard for me to understand. Is, hey, dude, we have a problem. Let's fix the problem because we acknowledge there's a problem. Not go, oh, there's no problem here. There's no problem here. There's absolutely no problem. Everything is fine here.
I got one last question for you, so we can wrap up this topic. I mean, this podcast okay, here's my question. So you saw what's going on in Wisconsin. We've been talking about domestic issues. Do you think that the socialist part of the Democratic Party is going to take over? What do you think is going to happen between now and 2028? I don't think the Democrats have much of a hope unless they get some type of leader that champions the left moderate, or the moderate left that needs to happen. I think that when the Democratic Party is moderate left, I think that's a win, right? I think I'm saying that right, Len? Because that's pretty much what you are. You're moderate left, right? You're a moderate, but you lean to the left, but you're a moderate. I would say I'm center left. I would say center left. Yeah. So, I think we're saying the same thing. So you're moderate. Yeah. I think that's essential, but unfortunately, and this is something that you and I can probably very strongly agree on, the Democratic Party is not the Democratic Party anymore. It's not a moderate left party or center left party where, we want to have social safety nets for the betterment of our communities. It's a free for all. No one knows what's going on in that party anymore, and nobody does. Yeah, I think what's going on is when you have the economic situation, like earlier you talked about the economy is good. And I would say if you ask 1,000 people how things are for them, I think they would probably say things are a little tougher right now, especially the younger you go in the demographic. And so when you've got high school kids having a better income projection than college graduates, like, that's crazy to me. And when you have young adults that are having a difficult time being first-time home buyers, where the the average age of the first time home buyer now is 40 years old. That's crazy to me. Times have changed so significantly when you look at the amount of rent you're paying compared to the wages you get. They're way out of whack. They're way worse than when we started. Thank God we were on a trajectory where we were able to make enough money to beat that curve. But a lot of people are feeling that pain right now. And just like water, it flows down the path of least resistance. Just like an individual struggling, they go and they're gravitated. I mean, they're attracted to the path of least resistance. So when somebody comes with a sharp tongue and a sharp mind saying, hey, we'll take care of you. We can help you, pay for your health care, your education. We can lower the prices of your groceries. We can get you into affordable housing. That sounds very tantalizing to a person who's struggling. And right now, the Democratic Party is being hijacked by a group of people who are feeding into these ideals. And so to me, I think we've got to look at, okay, your president said that things were going to be better when he took over, and they're objectively not better, because if they were, you wouldn't see this rise in the Democratic Socialist Party popping up. And I think there is a real problem. Like, to me, I don't like socialism. Historically has not worked, and people don't understand simple economics. And if they did, they would run the opposite direction of socialism. Because even my son, like I say before, he lives in Brooklyn. He feels it. Just last week, he was in his apartment where he's paying $5,000 a month for. He has
Absolutely
mold
insane.
Inside of his apartment.
Insane.
Just yesterday, his roommate was in the bathroom and he was going to the restroom, and inside of the shower, water starts gurgling up through through the drain.
Wow.
They're paying $5,000 a month. And if you look at it from the outside, it's beautiful. The lobby is nice. They've got, a weight room and workout area. They've got a loft. It's beautiful. But inside, man, it's ugly. And that's the thing about socialism. On the outside, it's so beautiful. It's so pristine. We're going to take care of you. You have rights, but we're going to work together. But under the underbelly of it, it's nasty. And we've got to run the opposite direction.
I don't think, though, Len, it's fair to argue that it's all on Trump or anything like, oh, everything's going to change. I think that a lot has changed. Like I said, a lot has gone in the right direction, and we're going in the right direction. You're not going to feel that immediately on Main Street. But what I do think is the primary cause for the pain and the unaffordability that we see here. Remember, Trump's only been in office for a year and a half. And before that, Biden was there on that switcheroo, 100%. Right? Mm-hmm. But what I do think, Len, and I think that once I say this, and then we can wrap up on this episode, is I think that what we're seeing right now is the old, dead, dying systems that are getting phased out of the market by the free market naturally. And what I mean by that is that the way of doing business and making success doesn't work anymore. And what I mean is you can go to trade school and become an electrician and make $250,000, $200,000, $170,000, $150,000 a year as a lineman, and not have to go to school and get a business degree. You walk out with an MBA today, you're getting paid $55,000 if you're lucky. Why the heck would I do that when I can go study, be an electrician, and then learn the business while I'm an electrician, and then go create an electrical contracting company to build data centers? Yep. That's the world. So what you're seeing today, Len, is you're seeing this old system that was pushed on the largest generation in America, which was the millennials. And that's who's suffering the most right now. You're seeing these millennials that bought into this system, that bought into all this, go to school and education and be individual and chase the dreams and all this stuff, and only to experience this and not only having to deal with the 9/11 and the dot-com boom and the 2008 recession, but now they're having to deal with, as they become adults and of age, they're having to deal with the AI change and the whole world going to tokenization. Like, we realize, Len, that as we sit here and talk right now, the way the world works is completely being changed. The only way to grow is to tokenize everything now.
Yep. And I would say in wrapping up and summarizing everything you said, my message to the community watching this is go learn a hard skill. And when I say a hard skill, I'm not talking about difficult. I'm talking about an actual skill, because soft skills like interpersonal skills, leadership, and all of those are all very important. But if you don't have a hard skill where you have to learn A equals B equals C equals D, your life is going to be measurably more difficult, because AI can do every soft skill you can do with, as it relates to, asking the right questions and writing the right things and saying the right things. AI is going to take over. So with that, Chris, while we disagree on many, many things, there's a lot of overlap in which we do agree. And that's why I enjoy having these conversations, because you make me think about things in a different way. And I hope in our conversations that we make each other smarter.
See you on the next one, Len. And if you'd like this content, subscribe. We'd love to hear from you guys. And that being said, Glenn, glad you're feeling better and you made it through to the other side. See you.
Thank you, brother. All right.
Conversation has given you clarity on your next steps. Please share this episode with someone who's walking the same path. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you won't miss future episodes. And remember, planning ahead isn't just prudent, it's an act of care. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time on The Family Office.